Text 45. Prayanada Yatamanas tu Yogi Samsudha Kilbisha Anaka Yaman Samsidhas Tato Yati Param Gatim. But when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, but ultimately, after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. A person born in a particularly righteous, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contaminants. When he is finally free from all contaminations, he obtains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed from all contaminations. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yesam tavanta gatam taman janaman punyam kararam di davada moha nikurkuka bhagaganti na dava varta. After many, many births of executing pivious activities, when one is completely freed from all contaminations and from all illusory dualities, one then becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Text 46. Tapa si bi bibho yo, dibhib yogi, nan ib yo, pi mato, di ka karm ib yas, ka hib ko yogi, tasmad yogi, bhavarjuna. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. When we speak of yoga, we refer to linking up our consciousness with the supreme absolute truth. Such a process is named differently by various practitioners in terms of the particular method adopted. When the linking up process is predominantly in the fruitive activities, it is called karma yoga. When it is predominantly empirical, it is called yaman yoga. And when it is predominantly in devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga, or Krishna consciousness, is the ultimate perfection of all yogas, as will be explained in the next verse. The Lord has confirmed therein the superiority of yoga, but he has not mentioned that it is better than bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the full spiritual knowledge, and as such, nothing can excel it. Aestheticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. Empiric knowledge without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. And fruitive work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga preference mentioned here is the Bhakti yoga, And this is still more clearly explained in the next verse. Text 47. Yoginam api sarvrazam mad ganantar atma shravadhan bigati yoman sami yuktam namo mata. All of the yogis, all of the yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The word bhagati is significant here. Bhagati has its roots in the verb ba, which is used when there is a need of service. The English worship cannot be used in the same sense as Baha. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the supreme personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshiping a respectful man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is parcel of the Supreme Personality Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam confirms this as follows. Ya azam parasam saksad atam prabhavanan isvaram na bhagavanti avaganti anad ba rasta pantanti ada. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty until the primal Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. In this verse, also the Bhagavanti is used. Therefore, Bhagavanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word Avagavanti used in this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. Avgan anti man muda. Only the fools and radicals deride the supreme personality of the Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word Bhagavati and the word worship. The accumulation of all kinds of yoga practices lie in the Bhagita yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of Bhagiti in Bhagiti yoga. Yoga means Bhagiti yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of Bhakti yoga. From the beginning of Karma yoga to the end of Bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga, without fruitive results, is the beginning of this path. When Karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Nama yoga. When Nama yoga increases in meditation on the supersoul by different physical processes and the mind is on him, it is called Astanga yoga. And when one surpasses the Astanga yoga and comes to the point of supreme personality of the Godhead Krishna, it is called Bhakti yoga, the cumulation. Factually, Bhakti yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti yoga minutely, one has to understand these yogas. The yoga who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. But one who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called that by that particular name. Karma yogi, Nana yogi, or Dhyana yogi, Raja yogi, Hatha yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of bhakti yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna consciousness is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of the Himalayan, we refer to it as the world's highest mountain, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the accumulation. It is great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of bhakti yoga to become well situated according to Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Samasundara, who is beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flowered garland, illuminating all sides of his gorgeous luster, which is called Bhamajati. He incarcerates in different forms such as Rama, Nisrara, Varha, and Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, and he descends like human beings as the son of Mother Yasoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This stage of highest perfection in yoga can be obtained only by Bhagati yogi and is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya diva para bhaktir yata devi tata guru tasyati kahita I artha parkasanti mahatamaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Bhatir asma bhajanam tahinan trupadi na asmasim maha kalpanan itad eva naskarniman. Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind of the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naskarma. Yeah. These are some of the means for performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta purports, that's the end of the 6th chapter.
So I'm a little confused about Ashtanga yoga. I guess that means when you're getting really good at jnana yoga. Really good at meaning you're really moving towards closer to devotional. Okay.
The karma yoga is the yoga of action. The Rajana one is the royal a royalty one, which I forget exactly what that one is. And then the highest one is the bhakti, which is the devotion, right?
Yeah, Raja is the 8 limbs, or Ashtanga. Eight. Ashtanga is 8 limbs. So when we did the Yoga Sutras,
Mm-hmm.
you know how we were going through like the yamas, the niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Those are the 8 limbs of yoga, the Ashtanga system.
Okay. So Ashtanga yoga is it Patanjali's yoga?
I mean, we can't really label who owns it. It's just
Got it.
it's the 8 limbs of yoga.
Could one say that that's what Patanjali wrote about? The eight
Yeah, that's what he would
Ashtanga
teach.
yoga?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now what's the middle one? I get a little confused with the royalty yoga, the Rajna. It's the
Raja
karma.
yoga is the 8 limbs.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it. And that's what gets you to the bhakti.
Everything
minute,
gets to bhakti.
I
Everything's
missed-
rolling towards bhakti eventually.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed that. It broke up. The Jnana yoga, is that the equivalent of the Ashtanga system?
No, you know how he's always talking about the Mayavadis, like the people who are impersonalists? Those are the Jnana yogis.
Okay. Oh, that's what he means by empirical. Okay.
But the thing is, like, within the bhakti system, you have a combination of like karma, the work of yoga, and then also you have karma, and then you also have like wisdom is encapsulated in it too. And that's the idea that eventually, once you get to bhakti, everything is incorporated.
Mhm. I almost feel like I have to read the sutras again after this.
It's a
Now there's new
constant.
context.
It's a constant
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting in my book when because I read from my book instead of following along today, and in number 47, which was a very long sloka, in the top part of it, the bold part, the red part, he mentions the word wisdom, but in mine, not wisdom, worship. But in mine, he does it. In mine, they reworded it, and so I thought it was a little contradictory when, if you scroll up to 47, because I don't remember what it said, but it said, worship me. In mine, it says, loving service to me. Because then they go on to say, worship. I like that it's this loving service idea instead of worshiping.
Loving
It's
service
fine.
is in the other translation too. It says, of all the yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. So the transcendental loving service is in there too. It's just, it says that's how you worship me. At least that's how I read it.
Yeah, they're the
Worshiping
same
me
thing.
in transcendental loving service. Yeah.
I was talking about this in class last night. Like, if you recognize the consciousness, the love, the connection, the divinity, and the other being, right? If I'm looking to the other human and I see the divinity in them, and then in serving Paramatma or the universal divinity, that's through loving devotional service to the other person too. It's not just, so like it is kind of a form of worship. Like we worship the people we love, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
I feel like the worship, and maybe this is just my own little thing, it's like an attachment thing. Whereas like loving service to me is a lot more freer. So I really, and I feel like I get it's the same, but I feel like it's different.
I can hear, I understand why you
And
feel
maybe
that
it's just because there's been so much bad stuff around it that you get mixed up in it.
way. Yeah.
So maybe it's like I just need to let go of the attachment to it. But when you serve someone with love, loving service, that's like an equal thing. You treat everyone the same. So like a loving service will mean I'm gonna treat my friends and my family the same as the strangers on the street and the same as people that I don't really like.
But the servant, but the while you treat everyone the same, you put yourself at a lower point than the person you're serving. You're the servant and they're the master
For what?
for worship.
Oh, so you're saying when I do that in order to work. So like I don't would do people do that with everyone?
Yeah, that's the idea. You're supposed to be like the eternal servant. You know how like I always explain in teacher training, that's how people in this world sort of greet each other, like everybody bows and they take the highest part of their head and they lower it and they say Prabhu, which means my master. And that's the idea. I'm the servant of everyone that I meet, because everyone I meet is divinity or God in drag.
I get
That
it.
is so hard to do because it is one thing to help people and to be of service to them. It is another thing to, while you're doing it, feel like this person is more worthy than I am. They're better than I am. And
I don't know if it's that.
well,
I
what
don't
is
know if it's that.
okay? So help me. What is it if it's not that?
Like a how to explain this? It's not like a what's the word when someone's abusing you and they're putting you down?
Demeaning.
Deprecating. It's not like a self-deprecating thing where you're not worthy. It's like a it's if everybody's doing that to everybody else. It makes a very beautiful relationship.
But
Like
that's
the
not.
idea is that both people are supposed to be like that to each other. And then, I mean, we are a, so that's like the duality of it. Like we are the individual consciousness, even though we have the universal consciousness within us. So the individual consciousness is a part of the universal consciousness. So when you're rendering service to it, there's like a yearning to reconnect to it. In essence, it's more of like a returning to our original nature type of thing. Like the nature of the soul is wanting to serve and wanting to love and wanting to be blissful and peaceful. Like that's the nature of the soul the bhaktis teach. So when we return to that state, it actually brings us to a state closer to yoga. Like think about when you're volunteering for people and you're in that sort of selfless state of service, you have to put yourself out or put yourself sort of, you have to be the servant to the other person. So it's not that one person's like lesser than the other. It's just that one person's put into that state of giving versus receiving.
Yeah.
And that's what it means, transcendental loving service. You're transcending the material notion or the material conditions that it be some other way. So like you're going out of your way all the time. You're inconvenienced materially, but you know that spiritually it's uplifting you. Like if I have to, every single time I eat, put my food up on the altar, say a prayer and offer my food, that's like one of the forms of bhakti's transcendental loving service. that's a little inconvenient, right? Materially, it's a little inconvenient. I'm Italian. We like to eat right away, right? I
You know,
don't want to
well,
be
it's not.
delayed in my eating, but if I'm trying to render transcendental loving service, that love puts me in a position of humility where I take a minute to, serve my food. It's like with my little kid, when you unconditionally love your child, if this is more relatable, you are constantly inconvenienced to serve them. I don't sleep anymore, but it's fine. I love her, so I don't sleep. I feed her first.
Mhm.
There's the food again. That's my
Yeah.
picture of it.
Well, yeah, you are Italian. My sister Becky, who has never gotten anywhere near studying any of this, had a phrase when her kids were young, and the phrase was, "All mothers like burnt toast." And that illustrates what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally. Like I gotta, yeah. It's just, it's all of it, right? Like that's, and I just saw something about bhakti, like being a mother, how it's so related to the experience of bhakti, because it's like this unconditional love we're finally getting, and that's what transcendental loving service is supposed to be. It's that love without condition.
Yeah.
So we're able to put ourselves in that place of humility and serve. I'm not lesser than my child because I'm serving her. I actually have more resources than my child materially. I have more power than my child materially. But because I unconditionally love her, I serve her and I give to her all of that. And when you're
You know,
feeling in a
something
state
else
of
you
not
said.
humility, what happens? You like get all yippy, you start yelling, you're not in loving service anymore. So
I just love that so much, loving service.
yeah. It's a
I've heard it
sweet.
1,000 times, but like it's really sticking with me today.
There's
I'm
I have a friend who was a social worker by discipline, professional discipline, and she's been retired for several years now. And she just never stops being a social worker. And what it is loving service to other people. She just sticks, her husband is battling cancer. She's had a hip replacement. She's dealing with any number of things. And if you call her and ask for help, Deb, what can I know this woman who has this problem, blah, blah, blah. She jumps in right away, and she'll take hours out of her day to provide it. And then I have a feeling she's one of those, she's very much in touch with that, and it makes her feel great to do it, but she doesn't feel superior when she does it. It's just a part of her role as a human being.
She sounds lovely.
Oh, she is. She's really a lovely person, and she's found that magic headset of being able to be in loving service while placing some kind of boundary between yourself and others, so that you can retain some of yourself as well. That's pretty nifty.
Yeah, the boundaries is important with this and everything, honestly.
Oh yeah, otherwise there's so much need out there. You could just go under the wave right away.
Well, that's the idea. Like if other people aren't putting themselves in that same position, that's why I love hanging out with devotees. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so blissful. Everybody's so kind to each other. You never feel put out because everybody's putting themselves out simultaneously, like everyone's taking care of each other all the time and kind to each other, and it's really nice.
That's a really lovely picture, and it's the first time I have actually thought about it that way. So thank you. That is really nice.
Yeah, they're like not judgmental. They're so accommodating. Anytime I've ever like gone to the temple or like in India, I was traveling with them. And it's just they're really sweet people. It's like the way you wish people would just be, and it's because they're spending so much time refining their behavior, and they're trying to like purify and purify and purify, and they view purification not through like getting on the yoga mat necessarily and doing all the asana, which purifies the body and everything, but like they view it through that unconditional love and service. So like every action they take is geared towards getting them to a place of deeper humility to be able to be like that. It's really inspiring. Like it's definitely I always learn something and try to be better whenever I'm around them because they're very inspirational in their being.
So as you describe it, I can almost, when I imagine being in that kind of group, you can feel, you know, the guards that you put up whenever you go into a group of people and sort of the faces you put on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in that kind of group, I can just imagine them dropping away
Yeah.
and you getting closer to yourself and being less protective and of yourself and less judgmental of yourself, which allows you to do the same for other people.
Yeah. Pre-bhakti, I had a lot of trust issues. And it's cool because like the tradition, it's not like telling you to be dumb, right? It's not like telling you to go out and trust everyone and wear your heart on your sleeve necessarily. It's like they do talk about those boundaries because like all of the texts explain these wicked people that you're going to encounter in life and what to do involving them. So it's actually like people are really emotionally, they become very emotionally healthy when they get into this whole thing. And the ones who aren't, you know, they don't really they don't make it too far.
I would imagine it would be boring to somebody who's not ready for that, both boring
Yeah.
and very frustrating.
Oh yeah, you can't drink alcohol, do drugs, you can't drink caffeine. They don't even eat onions and garlic because they consider it too stimulating for their meditation practice.
But even outside of those material things that you have to, you know, that would be tough to give up, et cetera, just being around people like that,
Yeah,
if
no
you
drama.
can't open yourself to that, is extraordinary. It just has to be extraordinarily difficult. You have to be able to sink into it a little bit.
Yeah, you have to like let your guard down.
Yep.
Because you're like, you go to kirtan. Have you guys been to like a big kirtan?
No.
No.
Not a big one, but I've been to many kirtan. Not huge.
Like Callies are sober, you know, like when you go to these kirtans with these devotees, it's like a wild party. Like they're dancing and their eyes are closed and they're like look like they're on drugs. It's just like people totally let go of any what's the word?
Humility?
What?
Humility?
Inhibition.
No, it's like any care for what other people are thinking of them. Like it creates a environment where you can really drop in to your own experience. Right? Like what Sue, what you were saying, like your walls come down.
Yeah, I think you get rid of all of your inhibitions, and your inhibitions are basically created by walls, you know, by the
Yeah.
walls you build. Yeah. I mean, that's what people used to go to clubs and drop X for, you know.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Not that I would know
chanting,
anything about that, but you know.
well, yeah, no, I mean, but chanting the holy name is something that gives you sort of a high feeling.
Yeah.
So,
Sure. You know, I have to say, you know, way back in the late 60s and early 70s, there were parties like that, which were necessarily all drug fueled. And you know, you'd walk in and everything would drop away. And it was it was just very freeing. And of course, if you couldn't let yourself drop away, then you stood there and you were miserable, you know, and you turned around and walked out, which is, you got to be ready for it. Anyway.
All right, let's do some breath and meditate.
Okay.
You
I
can
have
just
construction workers coming today, so I might drop out, but we'll see how long.
Yeah, that's fine. People can come and go as they need. I'll be here.
Thank you so much.
I've been shutting my video off. My knees have been hurting sitting. So
Oh,
I did heart bench yesterday after talking about compassion. It felt so good. I was so much more compassionate yesterday. I have to start doing that once a week.
You did what?
Heart bench
Oh,
with the blocks.
I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a pose?
Yeah.
I did heart bench yesterday too. It's great.
Oh yeah. Did you do it with blocks or with pillows?
Yeah, I did it with blocks. Yeah.
Okay.
And then what is it when you put your feet together? Oh, come on, Sue. You know what I mean?
Baddha-Konasana.
Yeah, Baddha Konasana and heart bench. And it was like 5 minutes of real bliss until my left knee started saying, get out of this. You know?
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
All right. So yeah, we don't talk about meditation as much anymore because we spoke about it so much at the beginning, but we forget. So we have to remember we have all these tools in our box. So we have our breath and we have our mantra, and there's many ways we can meditate, and it's not about just sitting for 20 minutes. Pick which right for you, pick which shape, pick which concentration. I was thinking going back to the candles, Sue, when we used to work with that. Finding a flame,
Yeah.
like
A
that-
steady flame and looking at it.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I look out the window at the tip of a tree that's probably about, oh, I don't know, maybe 40 feet away. And it's, there's something about it. Who knows what it is? I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Hare Krishna chant. There's so many different ways, and I feel like it's just like what this Gita is telling us. If we're doing something that's not meant for us, it's not going to work. So by me forcing myself to sit here uncomfortable for 20 minutes is not going to make my day better. But when I move into a position that I'm comfortable in, then my day was beautiful yesterday. All right, sit up nice and tall or lay down, whatever, straight spine. Taking breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. And beginning to soften the features on the face, letting the shoulders go, even if that means you have to lift them up to drop them down. Soften the fingers. Really let the breath flow evenly in and out. Deepen it into the low belly and let all the air out. And then a few rounds of alternate nostril breath. You'll take the right thumb over to the right nostril. Inhale through the left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. A few more rounds like that on your own breath, adding locks and retention if it's in your practice. You can continue on with that for a few more rounds of breath, or exhale out through the left side and join me on a few rounds of bumblebee breath. You'll close the ears with the thumbs and the peace fingers over the eyes. Inhaling and exhaling with the lips sealed. As you exhale, you'll create a humming sound at the back of the throat, making the breath sound like a bumblebee. I'm going to set the timer. You'll finish up whatever breath work you're working on your own time, and you'll join us when you're ready. Setting your intention for your meditation. Bringing your hands to your heart center. Namaste. Have a beautiful day, everybody.